can I tell you something?
Anything.
I have that Benjamin Buttons thing, where you get old but smaller, or whatever, and become a gradual old baby or something. I didn't see the movie, so I don't really know how it works.
Maybe you can hum the theme song, won't hold it against you if you get parts wrong. While the memory's not too strong, there's a piece of you from a time long gone. So while these fuzzy warm feelings remain, the question we ask is still the same. Is it a treasure or just plain lame? Is this still good? Hello and welcome to Is This Still Good, a podcast about removing nostalgia goggles and dusting off childhood treasures. I'm Gavin.
Oh, hello, it's my turn to talk. I'm Sage.
And today we're covering Secret Life of Walter Mitty, directed by and starring Ben Stiller.
You had it right, and then you second guessed yourself. Also, wow, people can do that?
Yeah, I don't know if we've actually done a double or triple threat on this podcast yet, so that's kind of exciting.
We haven't done any Ben Stiller movie, which is kind of surprising, right?
Yeah, and speaking of triple threats, double threats, Nick, how many threats do you want to vouch for on this podcast?
How many threats did you provide?
I'm going to go with two, as a dad and a cinematographer. That's confidently I can do those two.
Ugh. My two least favorite things.
Dads and cinematographers. Hey, I'm one of the cinematographers. You can ask John Boo. I'm one of the cinematographers that the first thing I ask is who's doing sound or what's your plan for sound, because I actually care a lot about sound.
Well, I stopped talking to John Boo after he killed my father.
Wow. Well, Nick Mahar, thank you for joining this podcast. We wanted to ask you just like a little about, talk to us about where you came from, who you are. I know that's a broad question, but give us a little bit of a broad paintbrush too.
I was conceived on the evening. I actually don't, no idea. I was born.
We can call and ask. We've got them on the other line.
Hi, Mom and Dad. I grew up in a city called Dublin in the Bay Area. I honestly remember having a camera in my hands when I was like 6 years old. I don't remember exactly when I wanted to be a filmmaker. It was either when I saw Jurassic Park, or it could have been when I was sick on Valentine's Day and my parents brought home the VHS 3-pack of all the Star Wars films when they re-released them in theaters and stuff. One of those is like what triggered me to really be like, oh, this is a career thing I could do. And so I just did like stop animation stuff with my friends where it was a mini DV tape. You'd start and stop the camera for every single frame. And sometimes it wouldn't record the frame, or it would record too many frames, all that. And taught myself editing. And like my 8th grade book report, I put my friend in a Harry Potter movie. We put up a shitty green screen we bought off eBay in my garage, and this is like before YouTube existed, so like I had to teach myself how to do that. And since then I've been wanting to do it, and I wanted to be a director at first, and then I directed a project that was like a little bit bigger scale in high school. And one of the teachers was a DP, and he told me, wait, you're supposed to go talk to the actors, I do the lighting and camera. And I was like, that doesn't sound like fun to me at all. I want to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then I changed careers.
Yeah, I had a similar.
That's a pretty universal experience for everyone in film.
Which I mean, all the love and respect to actors, but there is something a little bit more fun about placing a flag than having to correct someone's performance. Which the flag's not going to take anything the wrong way. Not that most actors aren't thick-skinned, but I get all in my head about having to correct a performance. Seems like the hardest thing in the world to me.
Well, especially when you have an actor that does not get. There's one commercial I remember. This guy had to yell something really loud, and he wasn't very angry. And then we told him to be angrier. He did it exactly the same way, and said, "Okay, why don't you do it sad?" He did it the exact same way, and every time, and we were just looking at each other like, he doesn't get it at all. He can't do anything besides this one tone.
Well, you're just supposed to change the speed of their delivery, if I remember correctly. Isn't that your Star Wars school? Isn't that how they teach you directing? But faster,
slower, more somber.
Apologies if that wasn't a Lucas quote, but that's how it's in my head.
That's also the Sam Raimi. I've been enjoying seeing the behind the scenes talk about his most recent movie, and they're just like, "You guys are moving too slow. You're taking this too seriously. I need you to do the scene in half the time. Go."
Yeah,
it's how dare you take a Sam Raimi film seriously? You hacks.
You hacks.
Do you feel confident choosing Star Wars a little bit over Harry Potter in your career, Nick?
For reference, I did some Oh, you mean in the beginning of my life or in the short
just
film
overall? Now looking back, be like, back to the right horse.
Yeah, I love them all. I'm not excited for the Harry Potter HBO series. Nothing about that trailer made me excited at all. Not that I was in the first place, but I mean, Andor is a very hard show to beat. If you guys haven't seen it,
it's pretty great.
Yeah,
I love me some space fascism.
And I tell people, I don't care if you like Star Wars or not. Just watch the show. It's a fantastic show in the universe. I don't know. I like sci-fi. I like fantasy.
That does make me wonder, like, speaking of the third property you mentioned, like, when are we getting a solid, weird spin-off Jurassic Park show where it's just like the groundskeepers while it's like still functioning, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well,
just the slow, like the Westworld version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, I want a 22 Jump Street with stormtroopers. Like, we got a little bit of that in Mandalorian where the stormtroopers are trying to shoot and they're making fun of each other that their aim sucks but like, I want something in those universes that is like a comedy that just happens to be in that world too. I think that would be a lot of fun.
There's even a slapstick version of Andor that involves like someone like truly just failing their way up to the top.
I mean, I've mentioned
just
before,
like that with a different
Galaxy of Terror. We've already got like the book series in Star Wars of like the horror tinged version, and the Sarlacc pit. You get down to it, like, pretty gross.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you brought a movie onto this podcast that I don't think either Sage or I had seen. We both missed it. I remember it coming out.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, he did pitch Star Wars, but we have already done that, and it was difficult to find like a real entry point.
Star Wars.
First thing you said was Star Wars.
What?
I said Star Wars, obviously.
Obviously, a small movie nobody's ever heard of.
Just like, yes, like, why? I want to know why you want to talk about Walter Mitty. That is certainly not a pitch that has come up on the 100 people we've had on.
So, like, why do you want to talk about Walter Mitty?
I think Walter Mitty is one of these. It's interesting. I've talked to so many friends, definitely cinematographers, but filmmakers in general, that this is one of their favorite films of all time. But I don't hear it talked about in like just general. It's it's the normal, like Star Wars, Fight Club, Shining, all that kind of stuff. But like, this film, I think, is some of the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen in a film. I think that the opening sequence where they're overlaying, they have these wide shots from different perspectives, and they're overlaying the Time magazine, I think, like saying or logo, whatever it is, it. I was like, every one of these shots could be a cover of Time magazine. Like, it's so beautifully composed and everything with the architecture and everything. And also, to me, it came out, or at least I remember seeing it when I was like, 2011. Was it 2011?
2013.
13. Oh, even
later. I wasn't
later.
Competent enough to correct you.
Oh, okay. Even later than I thought. But it came out at a time that, like, I think, just dropped out of college, or was about to drop out of college.
Was that the Academy?
I went to a community college for 2 years, and then I went to Academy, and then those were like, hey, you tested out of the basic classes. Here are these other classes that are like round 2. And then I get to the first day and I go, I know all this. I'm not trying to be cocky. I just don't want to go into debt for this shit.
No, I every single person who has gone to the Academy that is a friend of mine and I see working in the world is an Academy dropout. And I don't feel bad slandering them because they charge insane prices, have been part of like real estate scams. So like, I know so many great dropouts from there. If you're going to the Academy, drop out. That's all I'm saying.
Seriously. Yeah, dude. It was like, I literally remember editing 2 and walking in the first day, and they hand me the syllabus. I looked at it and I was like, I've known this since middle school. Like, I don't need to know this. And I went and talked to the dean, and she like scolded me at the audacity that I would that I even skipped editing 1 in the first place. anyways, it was at a point in my life that I was like, I felt like I was daydreaming a lot about like what the future would hold and like what I wanted to do and like how to achieve those goals and get there. And like Walter Mitty is about a guy who gets comfortable with his life and is just doing the same mundane things over and over. And then he's confronted with the fact that he needs to change in some way, whether he wants to or not. And he goes on these adventures. And once he starts going on these adventures, he starts living his life fully and he stops daydreaming anymore. And so to me, I was like, yes. And I love travel. I still have not gone to Iceland, and this movie, partly takes place in Iceland. So it's just like some of the most gorgeous locations on earth.
Yeah.
As a small aside, this movie actually mostly takes place in everywhere that's not in America is actually in Iceland.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, wait, did they film everything else in Iceland? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Greenland is also Iceland.
I assumed that no one films in Greenland.
Afghanistan is also Iceland.
Is it actually?
Actually, now that I think about it, that's not surprising. Yeah. I was pretty certain they didn't film it in Afghanistan at the very least. Or like, does this movie have a budget to go to Nepal?
All LA.
It's a great cast. I've always loved Ben Stiller in like comedy movies and stuff, but like this was, I think he had directed some stuff beforehand, but this was the first time I was like, damn, like the acting's great, obviously, but like it's more of a serious role, and the directing I thought was on point. And as a cinematographer, I thought it was gorgeously shot. I feel like I come back to thinking about this film every couple of years because it resonates in a different way with me. And like right now, Sean Penn, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sean Penn's character is kind of this like mysterious photographer person that Ben Stiller's character has worked with for years, but has never actually met in person, I think. And he has to go on an adventure to find this missing photograph, and that's what takes him to go find it. And there's a part with Sean Penn where he's there and he's been sitting there for like weeks or something to capture, I think, a snow leopard, and he sees the snow leopard and then doesn't take a picture of it. He just
I loved that.
looks over the camera and like enjoys the moment. And I remember being like, when I first saw the film, I was like, why didn't he take the photo? Like, just like, all this time.
Yeah.
And now as I've gotten older, like, I think there was a case like last week where I literally was just like, I think watching my kids or something, and I was like, I'm just going to sit and enjoy it. I don't, especially in a world of like AI and everything being computerized, I was like, I just want this moment for myself. I don't need to share this with anybody. I can remember this in my head rather than seeing it on my phone. Yeah.
Counterpoint, it is Sean Penn's job.
Well,
like he's just not taking a picture of. He's just out there to enjoy it.
It's fair.
Like, well, then don't even bring the camera, dude.
Hey, man, he's sticking it to the man. He's like, "Fuck you! You're gonna pay for this vacation. I don't have to take photos when I don't want it."
I mean, the leopard's gonna come back too. Yeah. I feel like now he knows how to do it. Because in the moment I was like, "Just take the picture, man. Just take the picture."
Even if you just take the picture and like look over the camera.
Yeah, I was actually, we were getting to the point where we were doing a summary, but Nick, you kind of covered a lot of the parts there. I mean,
no one mentioned the Kristen Wiig part of it. All that feels like an important enough side to it, but like,
well, it's also the idea that the reason he's having to go through this is that he works as a negative asset manager at Time magazine, and he's got a crush on a new coworker, and all this is coming to a head with Time getting sold, and they're going online and printing their last issue. And these bearded jerks come in to slash the workforce and move everything only onto the internet, leaving one last issue to print. And Walter has been given the cover photo as marked by Sean Penn's character. Unfortunately, it's not in the batch of photos that he gets. The only thing he can think of to go get the photo is to track down the photographer himself, who he's never met in person. He goes off on a journey, takes him to Greenland, Iceland. He's escaping sharks and volcanoes. He's getting in bar fights with karaoke singers. Finally winds up in Afghanistan on a mountaintop after going up with two Sherpas who just kind of like, you got it, keep going. And finds Sean Penn. Sean Penn's like, dude, I gave you the photo. It's in the wallet. I thought, you'd get that. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, the wallet I gave you. And
look inside.
Turns out that he has thrown away the photo. Thankfully, he goes home and his mom has picked it up because she appreciates him and treasures the things that he does in life, whether they be grand or not. And he prints the last photo. It's a photo of him that the photographer had taken, and it's dedicated to the workers at Time. It's honestly a very stunning image. And he asks out the girl, and they walk off into shiny, out-of-focus bokeh.
I believe that's what it said in the script, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the movie. Thanks for stopping by the podcast.
What did you guys think, since you've never seen it before?
Okay, that I do need to leave. I definitely have a lot of thoughts, but I did what. So Gavin and I had not seen this movie before. How often do you come back to this? How many times do you think you've seen this movie?
I think about it a lot. I probably haven't, since I've had kids, I haven't seen it as much. I just don't have as much time to like watch movies and stuff. But I think it became one of those films that like, even when I was just working, I would put it on a second screen and just have it on. I love the soundtrack. I like the music is fantastic. I think it's called The Wolves and the Ravens, I think it is, song from the soundtrack that I literally, at one point, I was playing every single time that I take off on an airplane. It became like my like good luck song or something to make sure the plane didn't crash.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just became that for a while. And yeah, it's The Wolves and the Ravens by Rogue Valley. But I really love music from movies, and I love the soundtrack because it's a blend of nice cinematic stuff and modern music. So
I'm trying to figure out why I haven't seen this movie until now. It's kind of one of my favorite just sort of subgenres. I think we're going back from the trailer, which I've got a distinct memory of. I was kind of worried that it would be like a lesser entry in the sort of movie that I like, or it was going to be a bit too like pretentious, which I don't feel anymore, certainly. But I have this distinct memory of the Arcade Fire song over it. I don't know what it's called, but just the one where they're awing in the background.
Yep.
Which went through the trailer.
And it is Wake Up off of Funeral, which really had its place in the sun. I also heard some of Monsters on Men in there with the stomps and the claps and the haze.
Yeah.
Yep.
And really
I could have also
put me
been
back
annoyed
in a time and a place.
by that music during that time, where I'm not annoyed by it now.
A lot of it was bops. It was some saturation, though, for sure.
Yeah. But we've got an actor I don't always like going on a fanciful adventure with like stomp clap music in the background. I can see why I'm just like, maybe not. And then reviews weren't overall positive. Like this movie doesn't have like a well-reviewed legacy, and I don't think it's been popular enough for people to really revisit it and reclaim it and be like, actually, Walter Mitty's a misunderstood masterpiece. But the instant you brought it up of like, yes, this is my opportunity to finally see this movie that I've always been curious about.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning, I'm not a big Ben Stiller fan. I do like him as a director. I've liked some of his more serious performances, but like the sad sack version of Ben Stiller that is like the version of him from every Ben Stiller rom-com, none of those work for me. They all like...
Are you talking like Reality Bites? What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about like the neurotic series of like Meet the Parents, Along Came Polly, like 10 years of there was a type of Ben Stiller movie. Yeah.
Where
it's just like Ben Stiller's neurotic and a girl's gonna pull him out of it, which, you know, the journey that he even goes on in Walter Mitty is kind of similar to what I'd seen from all those. And I love Ben Stiller in like full on sketch comedy mode. Like when he shows up in Dodgeball or it's the other big one, Happy Gilmore or Zoolander, not so much. Zoolanders aren't movies that really work for me. But I think it's also just like, maybe don't make him the centerpiece of the whole movie. Have him show up and be a heel to other people.
Well, wait, this is an important question then, because Sage has never heard of this movie. Gavin, have you heard of Heavyweights?
Oh yeah,
he doesn't know what Heavyweights is. He's never even heard.
Missed it. Yeah, never heard of that movie.
It's very in line with the Dodgeball type of movie.
I would say it's the exact same character from Dodgeball, but he's a guy that used to be fat as a kid, got really healthy, and now took over this fat camp, and he's trying to make everybody skinny, but like over the top trauma. Yeah, absolutely. But it is one of my favorite films of all time as a kid, and like I constantly quote it still on set.
I mean, I think we might pivot. Sage, you got to go watch Heavyweights right now. We've
right
talked
Come
about
back in
Secret
90
Life
minutes.
of Walter Mitty.
Yeah. We'll just sit here and watch you. We'll react. You react to the movie.
Time to get Walter Fitty.
We could do a still good reacts where you watch me watch Heavyweights. We'll live stream that.
I would never put anybody through that. Have you guys ever watched a movie while someone watches you watch that movie?
No, God, no.
I've had that experience in a theater where I remember being brought by someone to watch something, and then I realized that their eyes were on me the entire movie to see how I was taking it, and I'm just like, this is tweaking this experience for me.
I can understand that to a certain extent. I'm not going to have eyes glued, but I do want to make certain that someone caught a joke or just is watching the movie correctly.
Sure. Put your phone down. Stop.
Make certain they're getting it right. Well, not
definitely
just that. That's the obvious
that I've
one.
watched.
Yeah.
That one I'm like, I'm
said that
showing you a
this
movie
was happening
specifically, and you have your phone out the whole time. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, the disrespect. You gotta take a note from Sean Penn. Put down the camera and just watch that tiger or leopard.
Ghost cat. Snow leopard.
I did want to mention, so we've all kind of done a fair amount of documentary work, or specifically Nick, remember some of the early stuff that I remember you doing was you were one of the first people I knew who bought a Red, and you took it on tour, if I remember correctly.
Sold out arenas.
I just kind of wanted to sidebar about that. What was that like? How old were you? What was that experience?
So that was so when I went to Academy of Art, I saved a bunch of money by going to community college. My parents had saved up, I don't know, I want to say $30,000 or whatever for my college fund, something, small, but still great. And I was living in San Francisco in the dorms, and I was coming home every single weekend to Dublin on the BART train to get my car to basically drive back to the city to do music video shoots or whatever. And I was like, this seems really stupid. I only have classes a couple days a week. Why am I here? And, because Academy, all the dorms are spread out. And so it's not a normal college campus where you're just hanging out. You're in the middle of the
it's a
city.
real estate scam.
Yeah, it's a real estate scam. Exactly. So I was that was when the Red had released the Red Scarlet. And I think it was I don't know if it was a whole package for 10 grand or it was the body for 10 grand and the rest of it for 20. And I had been working at a movie theater in Dublin since I was 16 years old, I guess, when I could get a job. And I had that job plus all the other stuff. So I had some money saved up, and I made a PowerPoint presentation for my parents. And I said, my parents are divorced. And I said, this is how much it cost for me to have my dorm. This is how much it would cost for me to live at home and commute 2 or 3 times a week at max. If you guys let me take my dorm money and buy this camera, it'll save each one of you $2,000, and I'm going to pay for a third of it too. And then I'll commute and I can have this camera to make money. And so that's what I did. And then, it was beneficial. And then after the problems I was having again in school, I dropped out to take a risk. And then I used that camera to leverage myself onto tour, which is, I had never shot a concert in my life when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wild.
What were some of the coolest places you went? And did you see any snow leopards?
No snow leopard. Actually, you know what? No snow leopards.
We broaden it to ghost cats.
Mongolia was one of my favorite places I've ever been. And I was terrified of going there when it was for the Nature Conservancy, but I knew we were going to be out in the middle of nowhere, no cell reception, anything for a week. And I had never done that before. Plus I had camera gear. And that was honestly one of my favorite trips I've ever taken in my life. I think, in the same vein of Walter Mitty stuff, it pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and the things that I was worried about weren't really that big of a problem. Though I couldn't look at it when I did it, but the way that they cook meat traditionally sometimes in Mongolia is they heat up rocks and put it inside the stomach of a cow. Oh. And that's how they cooked one of the cows, and that we had that out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm somebody who I don't eat chicken wings with bones in them, because for whatever reason my brain does not like when I know that it's an animal, or I can whatever. I don't like it for some reason.
Pete is going to write you about that, but
it's the opposite of how you have to trick children into eating vegetables by hiding in other figs or disguises.
No, I understand. I really struggle eating crab just because you can see all the armored defenses and how badly it didn't want to be eaten.
just weird. But yeah, Mongolia is for sure. And then I went all over Europe. I've been to every single state except for Alaska. It's the only one I haven't been to.
None of us have been to Alaska. I'm not really convinced it's a real state.
Exactly. It doesn't exist. It's just floating up there.
It's floating off the southwest coast of the United States.
It's totally not connected to the United States. I love discovering that for the first time, that it was like, wait, you can actually drive to Alaska? It's not just a floating place like Hawaii? And they're like, no, then why does the map show it like that?
You said that there were like the problems that you foresaw weren't the ones that you kind of ran into out there doing dock jobs?
American education system outside of like
Sure.
outside of like learning about Europe isn't the greatest. And so like I was like, it's a third world country. Mm-hmm. It's like, what's the food situation going to be like? Because I'm a picky eater and like all this different stuff. And you get there and the main city is called Ulaanbaatar, and they are just like any modern city. Like we were there with our guide, and she was like, 20 years old. And we're like, oh, where should we eat? She's like, well, what do you want to eat? And we're like, I don't know. What is there? And she's like, I don't know. We could have like Chinese or Indian or this or that. And we're like, wait, what? And it was just like a weird, like, oh yeah, they can have food like us too. So like I was worried about that. Wi-Fi was fine. I mean, there's definitely some interesting like things about the culture, like cars with certain license plate numbers can only drive into the city on certain days. And because it's the only like major city, it's very overpopulated. It's
honestly,
like
it is kind of like Alaska in that way, where you've got acreage, then you've got like everything else is so spread out that things get concentrated in. Anchorage isn't the capital, but in the center, and you have all sorts of things that a city of that size normally wouldn't. Because Ulaanbaatar's not that big, I don't believe.
I don't know what the population,
but it's like
is.
The only place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Like civilian center.
We were there for a documentary for the Nature Conservancy to talk about climate change and the effects that it's having. Because like in cultures like there that heavily rely on the land, it's forcing more and more people to move into the city. And like I think their cattle outnumber the population by like 5 times or something crazy. But it was just interesting to see, all the effects of the climate change happening on that. The one thing I also remember is it was when Game of Thrones was out. They didn't watch Game of Thrones on the TV. They went to a movie theater and watched it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I thought was really cool.
It?
I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's fine. You're okay.
I know everything that happens. I know everything that happens.
Yeah, it's a good time. Okay.
Well, real quick, fact check corner. Ulaanbaatar is 1.5 million people, so I was very wrong. But Mongolia itself is only 3.5. Which, when you think about like how it's one of the larger countries, that should indicate how spread out it is.
Oh, very, very spread out.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like we got to, and again, I brought my Red out there, which was really great. I have this one shot of this drone shot that basically we'd go out, find a herd of gazelles, and then we'd set up a half-mile long net and have to corral them into the net to try to capture one so they could tag it and then be able to track their migration patterns. And like being on a, no roads, just in the middle of the hills in like a vehicle that's, 20 years old, doesn't have the best suspension. And I'm trying to fly a drone to try to find these things. And I'm like top speed on the drone just to catch up to them was a lot of fun. And it reminded me every time of like Walter Mitty and being like, oh, I'm in, shark infested waters, or I'm like skateboarding down this like giant cliff with a volcano in the background.
All things that happened to you in Mongolia.
Yeah, totally.
I wanted to talk about the skateboarding specifically, because there's some moments in here where I was really guessing where this movie went. Some of them I was right and some of them I was wrong.
Yeah.
From the moment he got the wallet, I knew the photo was in there. That was kind of a weird, like, why are you throwing this photo away? Obviously it's in the wallet.
Sure.
So that one I kind of like spiked early, but there was a moment, and specifically had to do with the skateboarding, when Kristen Wiig turns around and we could see Rodney Mullen step in and the
starts
king of flatland tricks.
Work, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. The photo's still in there, but maybe he's the photographer. And maybe he's been, every time he's daydreaming, he's actually going and taking photographs or something. And that's just kind of, he mentions it. He's like, oh, I just used to skateboard. I was kind of into the scene. And then when he's in Iceland, or no, that's Greenland. It's in Greenland that he's outrunning the volcano. No, he's just like
That's
a
Iceland.
crazy good skateboarder. And he's
What are you talking about?
It's a world-class longboard.
It's his fight or flight. He's figuring it out.
Yeah.
He very calmly, he's like, oh no, I'll just like tie some rocks to my hands so I can do high speed turns. Because, I might miss him. I got to get in there. And then he just kind of strolled around casually. I'm like, dude, get out of there. What are you doing? There's clearly a volcano.
All the actual adventures that happen to him and the crazy things once he makes the decision to go to Greenland, he's taking them all very well.
Yes.
All the time. He's not free. I mean, he freaks out a little bit when the shark's in the water.
don't
But even
think
like
that's
the
a
volcanoes,
purpose.
he's just like, well, I still got to go get the thing. I'm like, no, you've definitely never seen a volcano erupt, sir. You should get out of there. You should listen to this anxious Icelandic man.
Yes, the people that are screaming and running to their cars.
Yeah, he is more jarred by the fact that he's back in at Papa John's than he is by the volcano for sure.
That is fair. Very fair.
Yeah. I was really worried that was just going to be like Papa John's gave us $20 million for this movie as a commercial.
Kind of is.
Kind of.
Yeah, I still don't love that. Well, corporate oversight's always a weird thing when it comes to like putting things, because a pizza company might not care as long as it's shown in the movie, even if there's a whole speech about like, yeah, I had to leave because I worked at Papa John's and I hated myself and I sold out. It's my biggest regret in life. Fuck Papa
Doesn't
John's.
matter. Logo big.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I see product placement in movies a lot where the movie is really making a point about how much this sucks.
Every time we talk about, I just got to mention those shoes in iRobot. It still like sticks with me as the best form of advertising I've ever seen.
Yep.
You like these vintage 2012 kicks?
The 2004, they were new shoes the year the movie came
2004,
out.
sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't remember when iRobot came out.
I don't actually remember exactly when it came out, but I do remember that quote so much. It's burned into my memory. I'm just like, what an audacious thing to do, because the movie's set in 60 years later.
It's the
best
best
like, no,
part
I got to
of the
get
movie.
these shoes because they're special. They're 60 years old. And he looks directly at the camera and goes, and you could buy them right now.
Yeah, click the QR code on the
bottom
yeah,
of the screen.
pull out your phone and scan.
They were thinking ahead. They were like, in the future, this is going to be a thing.
Sometimes I worry we're not that far off from like having Google Lens encouraged and activated in movie theaters.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Wait, are you guys Community fans at all?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's my favorite version of product placement. Is season 5 that's on Yahoo. There's an entire Honda commercial.
One?
No, well, there's the Subway thing, but there's an entire episode that is sponsored by Honda, and they just accept the fact that it's a Honda. Oh, do you like my brand new Honda CR-V with the folded seats and blah, blah, blah? Like, it's just...
That is, I think that's the Subway character after he gets let go from Subway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I thought it was such a brilliant way to be like, no, this is sponsorship, and we're going to do it in such a dumb way that fits the show, which is great.
I mean, and I don't want to sidebar too hard, but I remember watching in school one of my favorite classes. We had a presenter come and show us an entire thing about the way that marketing works on teenage minds.
Okay.
So we're in high school watching this person give a presentation about ads, and they play that, I don't know if you remember, there's a Sprite ad where it's some basketball player, and every time he says Sprite, a little cartoonish figure of him pops up holding a bag of cash.
No.
And so for the entire ad, it's just him showing up as a cartoon in the corner with more and more money. And
yes.
what's extra great is at the end of it, they're like, so what are some things, where can you look to not like be advertised to? Well, you just got to look at independent artists. And then it turns into a mini doc on the Insane Clown Posse.
What?
Which was being, again, shown in public school. They were blurring out the nudity, but like it's just like naked people yelling whoop whoop, ICP giving the middle finger to the camera. And I was just like, this is audacious and beautiful. I love everything about this. I love the Sprite ads and I love ICP now. This is great.
I love ICP now.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, just endearing as all get out. What was your favorite part of this man's adventure? Hard detour back to Mr. Mitty.
That's good. I can tell you the one scene I don't like for whatever reason from the movie.
Not what I asked, but go ahead, Nick.
No, I know. I'm trying to think of the stuff that I like the most. The thing that I do think about the most is like the scene that I was like, just throw it away. I don't care. Is he's in the elevator with the guy that's helping the transition, played by
Adam.
Yeah, Adam Scott. And he starts daydreaming like him throwing him out the elevator, and then they're like surfing down the streets of New York. And I was like, for whatever reason, still to this day, that whole sequence, I'm like, it doesn't need it.
It's a little much.
And they're fighting over a Stretch Armstrong, which only seems to serve to get him the skateboard.
Yeah.
Which also is not a thing that I buy. I don't buy that these Icelandic boys. Iceland also just like a fairly well-off place. It is like, yes, this American toy from the 90s, I will give up my longboard for.
The scenes that I like, though.
I'll say the shark scene is very fun.
It is.
Listening to them say porpoise over and over again.
It's a porpoise.
And then he's like, I don't think it's a porpoise. I don't think it's a porpoise. And then the camera dips under the water and it's just Jaws.
Yep.
And he's just having to beat it in its face with his little tiny briefcase.
Yeah.
Pretty charming.
It's off the heels of like a lot of the ways to get into some of these situations doesn't fully work for me. Like he jumps off of the helicopter right into the ocean, and there's a way to play that where it's just like undercut, and I don't think the movie fully does that. He didn't jump off into any boat; he just jumped off into the ocean.
Just
play that as a comedic beat or fix it, like make it make sense.
Favorite scene still. I'm looking at like screenshots and stuff, and I still don't. Don't know.
Favorite shot is okay too, Nick.
Well, Nick, you usually watch this movie on mute, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Favorite shot again. I think it's the beginning section where like every shot to me could have been the Time magazine cover. I do really like the shot of him going on his adventure where he's running through the hallway and in the background are all the Life magazine covers.
That I remembered from the trailer, and that is just
yeah, exactly.
Have either of you seen the 1940s version of this?
I have not.
Did not know it existed till you texted me.
I knew there was a version. I knew there was a version when I saw this movie, but I have not seen it. No.
All right. I mean, I'm not going to harp on it. I haven't watched it all the way through, but I did think it was interesting. The one big change that I saw is he's not at Time magazine.
Okay.
He's at, I think it's.
Well, first off, he's at Life magazine.
Is he?
Okay. Yeah, that's Life. I kept saying Time too, and now I'm looking at it. It says it's definitely Life magazine.
I'm not a reader of either, and I apologize for my ignorance.
Neither is anyone anymore, unfortunately, Gavin. Life Online.
He works in the 1940s version, which I think the short story that's adapted from it is even less of a thing. It's only 5 pages long, I think, but he's working at a dime novel, like spicy detective stories and horror and just classic dime novel stuff.
Okay.
Which I just thought that was a really interesting, like, they're similarly, like, just obsessed with the image.
Mm-hmm.
And back then his imagination is, going into the adventures that you would go in detective stories or traveling the world, looking for gold and hidden treasures and stuff.
That's fun.
Similarly, like, it's like when they're walking through the office, it's all people painting these, like, beautiful 1940s art pieces. And that was just, the same thing for me is just seeing all those magazine covers blown up was such a striking image with him running through it and then ending on his face and the astronaut.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. Really worked for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the transition of then he gets in the plane, and I think it's like a top-down shot of the plane, and it's going, and then again, it's using the frames to have some of the words from, I think the note, I think it is, on the page, or on the screen.
Motto.
Like,
that was an incredible transition.
Yeah,
this movie's got some world-class transitions.
I'm a sucker for transitions. Like there's some in The Greatest Showman that I just love what they did.
Yeah.
It's kind of what got me through that movie. It's just like, how are they gonna dissolve things?
I know you don't like that movie. I love that movie. I love The Greatest Showman.
I don't have strong feelings about it one way or the other. Because it did charm the pants off of me a few times.
The drinking montage or the drinking song in that is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. I've forgotten the parts that I don't like because I love how much Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman are just like, are we friends
they
now?
Are
the song.
Together. I would watch.
Yeah.
Put them in more movies together, please.
As opposed to not to harp on Moulin Rouge again, but I didn't have a single moment in that movie that made me as charmed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Yes.
watched that as an adult, and I was like, I just don't. It's not my thing for whatever reason.
Well,
It's a
we've
child's
already
idea of love.
litigated
Go
it,
listen
so,
to the episode,
you
y'all.
Hey. I want to also mention that like that airplane moment ends with a airplane that is 3 times the size of the airport that he gets off into, which I just the simplicity of that, just beautiful.
Yes,
wonderful.
And you gotta rush to the bike before the horny boatman go get the one bike in
there's parts of this like the fishing parts of it and the remote village in Iceland and Greenland and the bar fight. I felt very seen. I feel like they could have just set the movie in Alaska, to be honest. There is an actual answer to the question you asked, and I'm surprised both of you got it wrong, which is the Benjamin Button sequence, guys.
See, honestly, I think that was cuttable.
No.
I don't think that is... I think that feels like a leftover from a different version of the movie.
I mean, you could probably make the same argument for that as like the city fight chase scene where it's just like the movie stopping for a little bit. But this put me on such like, it gave me complete goodwill for the rest of the movie. Okay, you're capable of cutting this thing together, because the moment that I have to tell you something, I have the Benjamin Button disease. So like, what are we doing? If you're going to stop the movie for 5 minutes, that's how I want you to do it. And it gives me fun, like Ben Stiller sketch stuff. Like when he shows up as the Latin lover for a second, I'm like, yes, more of this, please.
I will say the 1940s version also was a musical. So Sage, maybe you're lamenting the fact that we don't pause the movie to do songs that aren't connected.
Honestly, it's weird that there's not a musical number in this movie at all, right?
I don't know if he can sing. Maybe that's the only reason for it.
I would
he can imagine himself
as
someone who sings and has it lived up.
Go on.
What am I missing?
Kristen Wiig starts taking he's imagining Kristen Wiig as he's walking to the guitar and she's singing. So there is a musical number a little bit.
That's literally.
Boom.
I mean. Okay,
nope.
yeah.
Sage.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say the karaoke part. I'm like, I'm not counting karaoke.
Not the karaoke.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say.
It's a transition.
Technically, he does sing in the movie. I am wrong. So there's egg on my face.
Although I do remember him not being very good.
Yeah. No. He doesn't really feel like he's giving it his all.
Yeah.
No.
But that could just as easily be like a character, like a choice from the actor, rather than just like, no, I'm actually bad at singing. I'm racking my brain and I can't think of Ben Stiller singing in a movie. So,
do you know what camera it was shot on, or was it film or digital?
I know it was film.
Okay.
There has been similar
iPhone.
Again.
iPhone 3.
Bringing it back to the end of the magazine and the move to digital, online only for representation of images. Ben Stiller's mentioned that like that was the reason for shooting on film. Okay. He said like, look, I'm in a place, I have the budget to do it. I'm going to make sure that I think that like this story needs to be told on film.
Yeah,
which does make the like Matrix 2 versions of them sliding around New York all the more digital looking and painful. I think, because everything else is so organic feeling. I mean, the colors are definitely it's all heightened. But like, they're going.
That would have been a fun thing to change out and like film some of those sequences differently. Like if they had done literally that fight on a digital camera, the way like Wachowskis would have grabbed to, because they started doing that, or Benjamin Button as well as famously.
Yeah,
I don't know, to separate those.
As a cinematographer, I have this like feeling lately where I'm watching, and I don't know what the right answer is because I've seen so many good digital images. Added grain and make it look like film in post, and then I've seen it like shot on a film camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't tell the difference. But like, so maybe it's like a Netflix, modern kind of style of grading. But like, I watched this film and I'm like, it just feels like a film to me. Versus a lot of modern things just feel so digital and so just like polished but at the same time, like when I watch it, it seems really sharp and crisp. Unlike some other films.
Well, and I think like, you look at like even some of the films that have come out recently that look gorgeous and sharp are still like 16 looks great. Yeah. It doesn't even need to be 35. Yep. And I do think like in general, it's just the time and it's mostly, I would say where you see the budget most is the time and the production design.
Yeah.
And those are going to be what the big difference is, because if you don't have the time to make something look good, or you don't have the time to put the thought into making your movie look good and impactful. And also, if the script sucks, you're going to notice everything else more too. At the end of the day, like, our job as cinematographers is to not let anyone else down so much of the time, and also to fight against maybe production designers' best interests when they're like, why is all my work in shadow? I'm like, trust me, it's there.
Or why is it out of focus in the background and I can't see any of it?
Yeah. Trust us, it's there.
Yeah.
We have story reasons.
My relationship with film comes down to more when something's shot on film, I feel like I'm participating with the movie a little bit more. Sure. And like, I don't think that should necessarily be a universal experience. That's because I have worked with film and I understand a little bit of extra work and care that has to go into that process, and choosing even to spend the budget on it. And maybe I'm tricking myself, but it seems like I can feel the extra little bit of magic when something's shot on film, because I don't think, as like an actual viewer with my untrained eyes, especially compared to you guys, like, I can never tell if something's on film or if it's digital unless it's literally shot on an iPhone or like some of the digital movies that lean into that. But for most modern things, I would never be able to guess if something is shot on film, and especially once now, for decades now, even the things that are shot on film are always scanned into a computer and then reprinted on film.
And some things shot digitally are printed onto film and then rescanned. So,
what are we doing here?
Gavin, have you seen that process?
I know I've watched movies that have done the process, but no, I haven't checked in on it.
I went to Photochem for a demo of that.
Mm-hmm.
And even maybe the like dirtiest version of the film out version like worked because of what it was doing, but like for the most part, I was like, I'm struggling to see in this giant fucking theater what the difference is, that like you could not just do this in post. And fortunately, like it was like I was at picture shop yesterday coloring a project, and even the colorist agreed. And I was like, I'm trying to see it. I want to do that process, but I'm not seeing the justification.
The flip side of that coin is that we are there, and that is a good place to be, where you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You can do it in post, and it can be beautiful. And that's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, it's fun to argue about it, but like, the fact of the matter is, like, again, it's not the most important thing. And the fact that you can chase these images in different ways is in itself beautiful. I mean, the biggest thing is we just don't want film to go away, because it's a wonderful tool and a wonderful option.
It's magic. Like, we discovered something that shouldn't work. Like, digital cameras make so much more sense to me than film does still.
I mean, it's all magic. Like, the fact that like a little sensor being exposed to light and broken into different pixels of color or whatever, like, and that technology changes all the day too, because I'm describing like 3 CC, or what are those? Like the old
CCTV
strips.
Which those aren't a thing anymore, unless I'm mistaken. I'm pretty sure we moved on from that.
I think so.
That's what they shot 28 years later.
The good thing, though, with all that is that I think with AI and computer stuff, my expectation and hope is that digital is going to be less of a thing, just in general, not just film, but like people want more hands-on, realistic stuff. And film was having a resurgence, but I think it's having a massive resurgence. Like, if you go to Panavision right now, their new filmmaker program, usually, if you ask for a film camera, absolutely you can have it. Right now, they do not have any film cameras available.
Yeah, limited, and the processing,
which I think is good.
I don't know how many places can actually process film on a major level. I think if too many people actually want to make big movies on film, they probably have to wait.
Well, and that's
deprioritized. Everyone's working on the Odyssey right now.
Right. Like, the fact that there's a limited amount of IMAX cameras, limited amount of even like Alexa 65s, where you've got like these. Yeah. And I mean, Panavision, even at that point, like, it's like those anamorphics, there's only so many sets in the world. And there is something beautiful to, especially like looking at Panavision, it's about the imperfections. There's this great, I'm going to give you like a kind of long quote, unfortunately, but I think it's beautiful. Are you all familiar with Brian Eno?
No. It sounds familiar.
Musician, Velvet Underground era guy. I'm trying to remember what bands he was actually in.
Less familiar the
Roxy
more you
Music.
talk.
Okay.
Roxy Music? No, okay. Whatever you now find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about a new medium will surely become its signature. CD distortion, the jitterness of digital video, the crap sound of 8-bit, all of these will be cherished and emulated as soon as they can be avoided.
The wrong number of fingers in a hand.
It's this. Well, but like it is. Like you've already seen like the people faking like the extra digit to take AI photos. There's a wonderful new commercial out where everything is made to look like they're all digital clones of each other. Sorry, to get back to the quote. It's the sound of failure. So much of modern art is the sound of things going out of control, of a medium being pushed to its limit and breaking apart. The sound of a distorted guitar, the sound of something too loud for the medium supposed to carry it. The blues singer with a cracked voice and the sound of an emotional cry too powerful for the throat that releases it. The excitement of grainy film, of bleached out black and white, and it's the excitement of witnessing events too momentous for the medium assigned to record them. So, that's what we're all chasing. And
I love that.
Yeah. Brian Eno's a genius. Y'all should look him up.
You warned me how long it was, but I underestimated. I thought I jumped it after the quote.
He fell asleep.
No, it was beautiful. I was too busy over in the corner crying.
But that's the thing is like we used to for lensing used to be how can we make it the sharpest, clearest image possible because we were shooting on an organic thing called film that has a mind of its own a little bit. And now it's the opposite. We have these clean digital things that we're like, well, it's too clean and perfect. We want to make it more organic and stuff, which is
I shot a short recently on there's this company called V35 that takes modern clean anamorphics and funks them up a little bit.
Yep.
And like they've gone through a bunch of different sets and they're chasing like kind of the older vintage looks of specific like mediums and ways to distort, because we have gotten to the point where the cheapest lenses you can kind of get that are great are all just really great. They're all super clean. We've kind of done it. And that's very cool as a place to start, because it means now we can look at how the mediums beforehand were broken and try and pinpoint and chase those little imperfections.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of mini DV cameras, following some pages where people are like remaking those and customizing them. And it's not a look that like I'm chasing to get back into anytime soon, but I'm so glad it's around if I did want to.
100%. Also, shout out to Dominic of Five, my buddy up in the Northwest in Washington. I love what he's doing with that stuff.
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah, just from a cinematography standpoint too, for Walter Mitty, it's like it starts really cold and kind of sterile from the look of New York and the offices and stuff in the beginning, and the film slowly gets warmer and warmer and warmer, and at the end, it's like it's a big sunset, but even just like him walking down the street, it's a lot warmer tones and everything. So like from a visual language to the music to everything, it tells a story in different ways. And I think, like you said, production the two things that I will emphasize to the end of the world is the thing that makes a film good. Obviously, the cinematography is really important, but the sound and the production design.
I was going to say it if you didn't.
Sound and production design are the two things that honestly, like some of the low budget features that I've just recently done. Some of the questions I'm asking him is like, what's your budget for production design and what's your budget for sound, or who's doing the sound? Because I'm like, it doesn't matter if I make a really pretty picture, if the production design isn't there, it doesn't fucking look good, Obviously we can do stuff with light that make it look better, but in the end, I'm like, based on what the story is, like those things matter. Or just having a big budget and being able to go wherever the fuck you want in the world, like this.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you can get to Iceland, you can do anything.
Just Iceland.
But what if you could just film in a room and then just make anything happen later and make all those decisions later? That'd be good for the product, right?
Okay. For my mental health, yes, it'll be great. Staring at an LED wall all day.
I'd take that over a green screen any day, probably. Though.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
At least for the mental.
Well, you have to actually still plan it with the LED wall. You've got to be showing the thing.
You still got to plan it with the green screen, too.
Dude, some of the stuff I've seen, I've been talking to VFX friends, and they're like, we don't even need green screen anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, we can just, run it through an AI, and it'll key out stuff or whatever.
Just avatar it up.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Who needs real cameras?
Yeah, nobody needs that.
On that note, I wanted to talk about one kind of big thing that kind of excited me. So as I mentioned earlier, this is based on a short story from the 1930s, I believe, that was made into a feature in the 1940s. Do you know who produced the original?
No, No idea.
Jerry Stiller.
It's actually very close, Sage, because what we're getting to is that the version that we saw was made by Samuel Goldwyn Jr., and the original was made by Samuel Goldwyn Sr.
Oh, wow.
And so this was a kind of passion project where he was remaking his dad's film. And originally it was going to happen in 1994 was when they first started trying to remake this. Now, that's a little bit of time before the Ben Stiller version happened. In 94, I don't know if you remember what year that was, Sage, for maybe like a certain star doing a lot of movies.
Was this going to be a Tom Cruise movie?
This was going to be a Jim Carrey movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was going to say
Jim Carrey has made versions of this movie, yeah. Truman Show even kind of has like the same drive.
Well, 94 was the year of The Mask. I think it was also Ace Ventura came out, one of them that year.
Oh, wow.
Could be wrong. Fact check me. It's fine. So Jim Carrey got signed on in 94, and Ron Howard was going to direct. And this was going to be a New Line project.
Oh, God. Very different.
Ron Howard jumped off.
Like, all these things do make sense to get sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
But take us through this journey.
Ron Howard jumped off, and Chuck Russell jumped on. Chuck Russell directed The Mask. So still good to go. Jim Carrey. Things kind of fall apart. Some lawsuits happen. New Line hops off. And now this is going to be a DreamWorks project with Spielberg, who had also recently worked with Jim Carrey on Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. So still in the Jim Carrey wheelhouse. Up until 2000, like that all falls apart eventually. Steven Spielberg's like, I'm going to go make this movie called Munich. Mark Waters, who directed Freaky Friday and Mean Girls, comes in 2005, now with Owen Wilson going to be the lead. And Kristen Wiig's going to be Scarlett Johansson. They hop off. Owen Wilson's like, not for me. Mike Myers almost does it. And then Sacha Baron Cohen almost does it. And then Gore Verbinski comes in to direct it.
Oh, wow.
You may have seen his name. He backed off and decided to EP it. And that's when Ben Stiller comes in and it finds its way out of production hell with Sage. Do you know who wrote this movie?
I do, now that I've finished the movie. But if I had known that this was Stephen Conrad, I would have seen this movie a long time ago. And I've even spent enough time looking at like Stephen Conrad's IMDb to see what he has coming up, which is currently DTF St. Louis, out on HBO right now. Secret tie-in episode, guys. But Stephen Conrad is one of my favorite showrunners. He did a show called Patriot, which I've absolutely been in love with, and it's got one of the most unique tones. He's one of the most unique voices in television, along with like Noah Hawley, someone who I'll watch everything that they do. And Patriot, I'll go ahead and plug it now, is about a spy who's coming to the end of his ropes, and he's becoming too detached from the terrible things that he has to do. But it is treated with such a lightness to the tone. My favorite moments watching movies or television is when I discover a new way to just tell a story. And Patriot is that all the way through. It's just like, I didn't know that a movie could make me feel this way. This is a new feeling that I'm having because of the choices that you're making. Perpetual Grace Limited, a show that absolutely no one has seen or heard of because it was a 10-part series on epics, but has Ben Kingsley as the angriest man in the world. And then he got just sidetracked for a while because he was supposed to have a Star Wars series. That was one of the thousands of Disney Plus things.
Still could, Nick, if you want to like pull those strings a bit. I know you're in tight with Lucas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
but
totally.
The things that surprised me about how well they work about Walter Mitty, like I'm comfortable attributing a lot of that to Steve Conrad's choices without taking anything away from anyone else. Of just, this is... I love how Sean Penn is talking to Ben Stiller. Sean Penn, like a person that I rarely like in movies. I like him as an actor, but most of the times when I like him, it's because he's being a reprehensible prick.
Sure.
Like all my favorite Sean Penn performances are never like cool, laid back guy. That is definitively not who Sean Penn is.
What are you talking about? Spicoli is extremely laid back.
That's not who Sean Penn has been for 50 years. 40, 45 years?
to me.
So yeah, that's my mini Steve Conrad. I was just so happy to see that.
I didn't know that name Steve Conrad until you started talking about him, but he wrote another one of my favorite films, which is The Pursuit of Happiness,
which I also haven't seen.
It's Gabriel.
There's a humanity and a lightness that I think that I've seen across Steve Conrad's work. And Nick, if you haven't seen Patriot, it is one of the most beautiful beautiful looking TV shows
absolutely.
I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
While we're weighing pleasantry, how pleasant something is, I think there is a core to this show that it might be time to explore. Sage, you want to enlighten us to what that might be?
What are you going to introduce a new segment this far into the show? Is this movie still good? Is it better as a memory? Or
should we very, very with confidence assure it that a great white shark is a porpoise and it should just swim casually near it?
Do we warn it about the impending erection?
Yeah.
Do we detain it at TSA? That scene also didn't work for me.
Fair enough.
Well, I just don't understand why suddenly we're at an LA airport in this movie.
Well, did the rest of the movie work for you?
Oh, is it still good, or is it better as a memory, or do we shove it in the ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad that I got to watch this movie. I had a very pleasant and smiley feeling through the whole thing. I'm not without my qualms. There's certainly something that I had neglected to bring up until now, which is that I feel like there's a better version of this movie that just switches Adam Scott and Ben Stiller. I don't actually know if Ben Stiller would have been a better boss, but like having seen, because I love sad sack Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. And Ben Stiller, actually, you haven't seen Heavyweights, but he makes an extremely good bully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
I was just
bully.
like, I mean, I guess even Adam Scott in this is somewhat of a caricature for that role. He's just having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I've seen Ben Stiller being a dick and trying to like run out small businesses in multiple movies. Like that's Dodgeball. That's all of this stuff. Really, the argument is less about switching. It's just like the instant I saw Adam Scott in this, I'm like, Adam Scott should have been the lead. I know he can do this. And I would have made that argument even before Severance, which we haven't really talked about Ben Stiller as a director on the show at all. The thing I really wanted to highlight about this movie that worked so well and why I'm giving it a still good, because it's still not my favorite example of this kind of fanciful the power was within you genre. But that I am a sucker for that. You have to screw that movie up for me to not like it. And this movie's great. But it's less about the idea of becoming a better person, becoming a more rounded, well-traveled, getting over your fears and anxieties. And this movie is about remembering that you were always that person. I think it's so important that you learn these things about Walter Mitty's past, from as simple as skateboarding to who he was before his dad died. And he's not becoming this person. He's remembering that he always could have been these persons and this person. And it's never too late to make those choices. Like especially in my late 30s, in a field that I've wanted to be in my entire life, that I do feel is dying like a Life magazine to a certain extent. And it doesn't need to, but there are people above me who are kind of making those decisions for me and not for my benefits. Like, I cried quite a few times in this movie, just because the Arcade Fire song. I mean,
that's
because
fair.
it sets the tone so well.
Yeah,
so
it
I
sure
think,
does.
Yeah. I think hot take, Ben Stiller's pretty good director. And, what if Ben Stiller directed Adam Scott going through a crisis being SCAD?
That's fair. No, it's absolutely fair.
We'll never know.
What's funny is like I'm still getting through Severance. Again, I don't have a whole lot of time to like watch stuff as much as I want to anymore. But like when I saw
the 8
Severance,
children.
when I the Octomom, when I saw that Severance was directed by Ben Stiller or a lot of it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm more interested because of how well I thought that Walter Mitty came out.
Gavin, you want to surprise us by talking about how much this movie made your blood boil?
I will say that one person we haven't really talked about too much yet is Kristen Wiig in this movie. Pretty underwritten, not given really much to do.
Yeah,
which
That's
I don't
fair.
think is necessarily. I'm of the opinion usually like it's, especially if you're doing, which I think storytelling is an extremely subjective thing, and it should be. In general, I think it should default to a point of view, and you shouldn't know every character. That being said, she's a little underused in this movie. Her character's a little underwritten. But other than that, like, yeah, I had a great time. I think this movie's still good. Similar. I think I'm, out of the three of us, probably the least traveled, and I've still been a shit ton of places.
Yeah.
and that is that similar like reminder of like, yeah, like when you look back, like I don't know how to skateboard, but there is a lot of those things that I kind of forget that I have done or am doing with my life. And there's a lot to be said about like kind of that self-introspection, and just a reminder that, in general, you probably kick butt if you like look down into yourself enough. So it's a nice movie about remembering that you're pretty cool, and that like a bearded Adam Scott can't keep you down. So yeah, still good. I enjoyed it.
I did feel that way. It did make me feel like, you know what, I do have value. I have done cool things. I am capable. I contain multitudes.
Yeah. Nick, how's your self-worth?
What if Nick hates this?
pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, for me,
I hate it.
For me, the movie still hands up. You know, it's funny. It actually made me think of. Have you guys done a review of Blind Spotting yet? The movie?
No.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost got to work on it.
I wish I got to work on that film. That's another one of my top films of all time.
It's great.
I remember Patrick Lundberg, right?
Yeah.
Patrick and I went to high school together and grew up on the same street. I remember walking out of that film and calling him and going, "Should we just stop? Because like I don't know if I'm gonna make a movie as good as this." I thought it just nailed everything perfectly, and it didn't like take sides too on any of the issues that it was like showing and stuff. But I don't know why this movie made me think of that right now. But yeah, I don't know. I still love this movie. I think it holds up really well. And even with like, I try not to over critique, especially as filmmakers, over critique certain movies where I'm like, yeah, I agree. Like if you point it out, Kristen Wiig's character like doesn't really, it's not there's not a lot of depth to her. It's very baseline and stuff. But overall, like the way that it made me feel coming out of it. And I have also adapted the feeling of, I think it was John Krasinski I saw in an interview say like, I don't say a movie's bad. I just say it's not for me, which I could argue there are some pretty bad movies, but
that sounds like a coward's take.
Yeah. But like the way that the reason it resonates for me is that like there's certain movies or music or television shows that like I've watched, and then like Tron Legacy, for example, the first time I saw it, I was like, whatever. And now it's one of my favorite films. I think I just wasn't it's not a perfect film. It's just like an entertainment, like popcorn
Hot
film.
take, Nick.
It's a popcorn film, but it's one of those, like, I wasn't in the right mindset when I watched the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. If you have to be in the right mindset for certain projects.
No, that's 100% true.
Sorry to Bother You is another example that I like to use. Sorry to Bother You is, to me, like a perfect example where I was going into the movie for one movie, and then when the turn happens, I was not expecting that. And I like literally looked at my wife and my friend that we were watching, and I was like, are we high right now? Like, this is not the movie that I thought I was going to watch. It didn't mean the movie was bad. It just like my mindset wasn't ready for that flip. And so because of that, I didn't love the movie. But anyways.
Oh, interesting. That usually makes me like a movie more.
There's kind of two kinds of, and I don't think we need to go too deep down this, but like, yeah, twists are a tough thing. I know, Sage, you weren't the biggest fan of The Substance, whereas like, I'm all in it. When they keep going, I'm just getting happier. Whereas I'm trying to remember, like, or The Village for me is a tough one because I don't need that extra. I don't need that extra layer that they're putting on that movie. And it's not that like it's not a layer you can add, but I don't think it's as interesting as what they've set up. And I think that it's like a movie is constantly resetting your expectations throughout it. And sometimes it is on you whether or not you can follow it. But like that's where get into author theory and the idea that like the audience is a co-author in most mediums. I want to rein us back in a little bit because I just got a letter from our lawyers, and we got the rights to do this movie over again. It's been almost 10 years, so with the production hell I expect, what version of this are we making in 2036?
We're reviving a canceled undercover police program from the 80s.
Oh, it's not a remake, it's a reboot.
You see, the guys in charge of this stuff lack creativity.
What the fuck is a reboot?
So all they do now is recycle shit from the past.
We're working on less of a shriekwell and more of a screamake.
Expect us all not to notice.
I like it. Another!
I think Kristen Wiig is now Sydney Sweeney. Ben Stiller is replaced by Adam Scott because Sage really wants that.
It would literally be Adam Scott right now. That's great, actually. I think that would even be a studio's first pick for it.
It's either that or Pedro Pascal. I mean, we have to go with what's popular.
He's
right
in
now,
everything,
right?
for sure.
He's in everything.
You gotta have someone who by as not having done cool things their entire life.
So I think what's the most interesting thing to talk about here is just so we went from dime store novels to Life magazine.
Yep.
In 10 years' time, what do you think this revolves around?
Oh, sorry, I just got really scared.
Sorry, 5 years' time? Or today?
Movie theaters are dying and... No.
Well, no, just the idea that, like, oh, what's something I'm not even thinking about that's making the world worse in 10 years?
Or do you just set it back in the days of radio?
Well, so I would like to see with a bunch of additional perspective, the 1948 version of it, but made today with everything that we could kind of tap into since then, and modern technology and filmmaking and all of that. I'm excited to actually watch that at some point. Yeah, and Arcade Fire and Anachronistic. But the idea of like post-war factory jobs, if you hadn't told me anything about Walter Mitty, about the original, like those would have been kind of my assumptions is it's about like the loss of jobs as automation comes in as it was developed for World War II. I mean, no, that was kind of like the most prosperous time in American history, but I'm sure they had a lot of the exact same problems of just like, no, a robot technically is going to do your job. A robot without a computer chip in it. Yeah.
I see it. It's about the factory worker, like the lineman at the auto shop who winds up inventing the El Camino.
It's funny when you say like where you would reset the time, it makes me feel like then that becomes more of a Spielberg type film that he would direct. I don't know why.
I would have.
There's a Spielberg version of this that sounds awesome.
Spielberg's version of this. Honestly, like when I was going through that production hell, honestly, every single version of that sounded pretty interesting to me. Yeah, and that's what is kind of. It's almost like what's your dream director on this is a quick way to go down too, because it is such a blank slate. Again, it's based on a 5-page short story that is just a dude kind of imagining things. So, yeah, actually, the 1940s version, what I did watch is there's like a very silly line from the short story where he is imagining the sound of the machines, and that's repeated with every one of the dream sequences, is like this weird vocalization of like a sound that is either the tearing of the wind through the sails or like the sound of the engine on the propeller plane as he's in a dogfight. It's like
yeah,
it's pretty charming and cheesy.
I was a little worried that this movie was going to lean more into like short-term flashback style gags. I'm glad that each one of them like goes long enough to deserve the break that it takes in the film, as opposed to like a Family Guy or like Scrubs is back right now. So literally right after Walter Mitty, I watched the new episode of Scrubs. Like, this is a very different way. No, they're doing different things, and I wouldn't want that in the movie to just have like this many just short jokes. Like make it matter.
That is part of the reason. That is part of the reason that it took so long to get made, is because they were being extremely careful about it not becoming a bit fest.
Yeah, that's fair.
But wait, hold on. Give me the bit fest.
Sage, do you not like the reboot of Scrubs?
No, I like it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's consistent, and I also think like Bill Lawrence has really refined his whole thing. and is even better at making ensemble comedies, post like Shrinking, Ted Lasso, even Bad Monkey. Well, that one's not so much of an ensemble. No, I think it just feels like, oh, the show is back with another season. It's not forcing things in. It is funny because the new season of Scrubs is kind of the same idea as the sort of season 9 spinoff thing that no one talks about, that no one liked, which is just like the natural progression of this is they are now the tutors, they are the instructors, and there's a new generation of interns that they have to deliver that knowledge to. That's exactly what this new one is. I think it's just a little bit smarter than season 9, and also wasn't just like, that's a weird thing to have as just the next season of a show.
Yeah,
sure.
I've kind of come around in general on like, I hope they do another musical episode. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the next generations, we've shouted out a lot of things that we really liked throughout this, but if you had to pick one, like what would you recommend based on like if someone liked The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? What would
the
you
two things I'm going to
up?
recommend.
Okay, go ahead.
So, two movies that this really reminded me of that I like even more than Walter Mitty, a movie I really liked. The Fall. I think The Fall hits a lot of the same just wonder of the world and certainly cinematography. It is the only movie I could think of that matches it in terms of just scene transitions as well. And
are you talking about the 2006 movie, The Fall?
Yes, Tarsem Sins The Fall, not the 80 other movie, not the one where they're like trapped on a radio tower, I think. That was there's a movie that just came out. I feel like there's a The Fall every 3 years.
There's a lot of falling.
Sometimes you gotta anatomize a fall. That's the one I like.
And Life of Chuck is the other one that comes immediately to mind, which is one of my favorite movies of last year, and is even the line I said earlier, you contain multitudes, isn't that wonderful? That's a line from Life of Chuck. And it's probably a line from other things as well. It sounds like a thing that's been around forever. Just a lot of grace through it.
I need to watch The Life of Chuck. I've had a lot of friends recommend that. And it does
a lot of people
look good.
Too.
Don't like it because it's got a very strange structure. I'm not going to spoil, but it's I understand why people don't like that movie.
I'll recommend if you go onto your computer or streaming device and open a little app called YouTube, you can look up a program called Next Time on Lonnie.
Oh, yeah.
Starring Alex Anfinger, who does not have a photo on IMDb because I just looked him up.
What?
And he's floating in the background of Walter Mitty pretty frequently, and it's just a wonderful little YouTube series that does wind up being produced by Ben Stiller.
Yeah, Red Hour
Media.
Really?
Which is pretty damn cool. And
so they're
how
in the same orbit. Big time in Hollywood, Florida.
Also
not
fun,
quite as good as Next Time in Lonnie, but like is a bop. And Ben Stiller even shows up in that one.
Interesting.
I'm glad you remembered it, because that is one of my favorite things to ever exist on the internet.
It's pretty great.
The main guy is Adam Scott's, I would call him number 2, but he's just one of the ensemble, but the only one who ever seems to talk. And I think he's excellent with the little tiny things he get. Like, that would have stuck in my memory.
Nick, how about you? Anything you'd recommend?
I mean, again, I'm gonna shout out, just because it's one of my top films, is Blind Spotting.
They're both on the more extra side of performance, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of those movies. It's one of those films that, like, I didn't. It came out at the same time as Black Klansman and Sorry to Bother You, and I think those got way more praise and recognition because of the actors that were in them, rather than the quality of the film. Personally, so
it's hard to tell from our bubble which one of those movies are like really big, because Blind Spotting's just as big as anything else to me. And I run into that problem a lot with Last Black Man in San Francisco, which to me feels like a huge movie, but it is.
But it was. But it wasn't
the most popular A24 film.
Which I will say, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, I don't think I loved as a movie as a whole, but I think the opening sequence, they're skateboarding through the city, is one of the most beautiful sequences of any film that I've ever seen in my life. And
the
I don't know if
music in that film in general is just incredible.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
I thought the score of that movie was going to carry me to like some awards. Just everyone looping sound together. Like, I just record the voices and make some choices. But I genuinely thought the score for Last Black Man in San Francisco was going to get an Oscar nomination, and I'm pretty surprised it didn't. Yeah,
that period, like everything coming out of the Bay, was just firing on all cylinders in a pretty crazy way.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the theater that I saw it in specifically, but it was like it looked so beautiful. Especially like he was doing, I think I remember, I forget the cinematographer's name. I think it's the same guy that did the Studio TV series, but is it Adam? God, I'm so terrible with names. This is why I'm a cinematographer.
You get along great with Gavin.
Yep. Yeah, I could, dude. I like my least favorite thing is like when I see somebody from high school and I was like, I could tell you a million stories between us. I could not tell you what your name is right now. Like, I could tell you where you live, all that, you know. But I remember there was a part where like it was they were sitting at the bus stop and the preacher was there, and I think they were using a mirror board to light the person with a sun, and it was so over the top bright that you wouldn't normally do, and it just looks so good. I don't know what about it like looks so different and good. So yeah, actually, you know what? My recommendations, they have nothing to do with Walter Mitty, are going to be Last Black Man in San Francisco, Blind Spotting, and because I worked on it and it's one of my favorite films, Didi.
Didi.
Oh man, I loved Didi too.
Everyone check out Didi. It's pretty great.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything that you want to plug for yourself aside from Didi? Or we can just double down on Didi if you want.
I mean, Didi's a great film. I have a movie called Bound for Glory that we're doing the final DCP in the next week or so that I'm really proud of. It's a really low budget film. And I'm really happy with how it came out because it does not look like the budget that we did it at. And I'm also proud that we shot 15 days in LA with 0 permits.
Hey.
And
fuck them.
Fuck them. Fuck Film LA. My favorite part is we had 2 vehicles with hashtag #SetLife on them, and somehow we didn't get shut down because
That's pretty wild.
I think because if anybody called it in, they were probably like, or thinking about calling it in, they were like, these guys wouldn't be stupid enough to shoot with that vehicle in LA.
Yeah.
That's
great. Well, we've got our 100th episode coming up pretty soon. So if you want to give us some feedback or write in and maybe we'll read it out, stillgoodpod@gmail.com, @stillgoodpod, etc., etc. We'd love to know what you think. We've had a blast doing this show, and we'd like to keep doing it. So leave some good reviews. And if you liked listening to us talking about film, I'm going to plug the City of God episode where we go into a little bit more about the technical aspect of film and just really revel in the magic of the whole process. All of our old episodes are actually restored now, so they're better to listen to than the first time. Anyway, You Contain Multitudes. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. Oh, we all.
All right, thanks, Dick.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us again on Is This Still Good? You can find us at StillGoodPod on Instagram or send us a formal complaint to stillgoodpod@gmail.com. We love hearing from you.
Please give us a like or review wherever fine pods are casted. It helps us trick those algorithms.
You can find me across platforms at Hold for Plane.
And I'm at Gavin V. Murray. Join us next time, whenever that may be.
Bye.